Siegfried and Dietrich arrived at Vanessa's village faster than Fenrik had expected. As he saw it in the capital, Siegfried's condition was still as bad as it could be. He could barely step now, staggering as he dragged his feet. That he even managed to get here in this state was astonishing. As for Dietrich, he came as he promised, and with him were the church priests and magicians. However, what are you saying? What is this? You are saying that he is the king of demons? Signs of confusion and astonishment were clearly written on the faces of the priests who heard the news. Didn't it say he fell asleep a long time ago? It's been more than 1,000 years. I saw with my own eyes. One of the Legion knights who were fighting the monsters alongside Fenrik's soldiers answered in a heavy tone. It was exactly the same as the legends. And then those monsters. Didn't you see them too, gentlemen priests? Those piles of corpses piled up like mountains. Those predatory monsters that never stopped attacking no matter how many times they were killed, began to retreat little by little shortly after Presepe disappeared with Vidar. It is true that the human losses were not small, but thanks to that, they were able to protect Vanessa's village. Was this also because Presepe begged Vidar? Nobody knows the answer. They were not ordinary monsters. Rather, some of the simplest monsters we know, even ancient monsters, appeared all at once, all with a single gesture from the Demon King. Ancient monsters, you say? Signs of shock were evident on the wizards' faces as well. Could it really be the Demon King who caused this? Their minds were spinning quickly. If what the knight says is true, then there is no hope for them at all. The power they possess is rooted in the same source from which the Demon King descends, so how could they fight him? That would be crazy. Duke, then Mrs. I was kidnapped back to the Forbidden Forest. The word kidnapping might not have been entirely accurate, yet Fenrik went ahead without any hesitation. So, I think it's not our time to waste here. Isn't that so, Your Majesty the Emperor? The eyes of the silent, sitting Dietrich turned to Fenrik. Since you honored us by coming here, you must have some idea, right? Then lead the way. What are we going to do? Do we send the priests and wizards in front as victims so we can advance into the Forbidden Forest? Or do we make the knight leader, who can barely walk, a bait to open the way? There was a clear tone of bitter sarcasm in Fenrik's words. Or would Your Majesty prefer that you personally accompany me to the Forbidden Forest? The truth is that Dietrich was unable to do anything in this situation. It is true that he had fought some battles in his life, but this time it was completely different. The enemy was not an army of humans, but the Demon King himself. Moreover, what was restricting him was not only fear, but his being an emperor. This is absolutely absurd. The Imperial Guard knight shouted with a pale face. If anything were to happen to Your Majesty, the consequences would be catastrophic and irreparable. Your mere presence on the outskirts of the Forbidden Forest entails great risks, so how can you think of taking it further? So, Your Majesty, you will remain here in the village, waiting, doing nothing? Until I, the Legion Knights, my men, and the soldiers of the Imperial Palace return with our lives on our hands to rescue Lady Pris? Duke Fenrik. Keep your words. I apologize, but perhaps my words were not as out of bounds as you think. Tell me, did I just say a false word? And when we succeed in rescuing Lady Presepe, Your Majesty will take her directly to the Imperial Palace. This has been your true goal from the beginning. As for your previous orders to clear the Forbidden Forest of monsters, everyone now knows that it has become an impossible mission. There was a dark silence around the tent, the air freezing at the sound of Fenrik's words. Everyone was aware that his speech contained a major transgression, yet no one dared to object. Because they all knew that every word he spoke was absolutely true. Then, Duke, do you mean that you will not go to rescue Presepe? Or do you refuse to die alone, like the death of a petty dog? Said Dietrich, looking at Fenrik with eyes shining with anger. Your Majesty, your words are a contradiction. But Fenrik did not appear to be withdrawn or embarrassed. Rather, he continued his speech coldly and with unwavering boldness. I will certainly go to rescue Mrs. My death will never be in vain. For a man who just claimed to have no means, your self-confidence seems very high. I beg your pardon, but unlike your majesty, I have never been in the habit of backing down just because I don't see a clear way. Anyway, your majesty, you are honored to be present, however you must hand over to me command over the remaining priests and mages, as well as the remaining forces. You are the Emperor of Atloya, and as the Knight of the Guard said, you must remain safe in the safest place possible. Dietrich, with a frozen and cold face, did not utter a single word. He felt clearly angrier than ever, yet at the same time he knew that he was powerless to do anything now. Therefore, he also knew that everything Fenrik said was true. Despicable lowlife. As he let out a wry smile at Dietrich, Fenrik thought to himself. In the end, Dietrich was just a man of many words and no actions. He did not have the courage to sacrifice his life to save Presepe, nor the confidence necessary to bring her back no matter what the cost. He was just a contemptible follower who wanted nothing more than to keep her chained to his side. Kevin, re-examine the soldiers thoroughly. The injured must be separated from the rest. Then, Commander. Yes, Duke. You should come with me and let's talk for a bit. Jeffrid showed a surprised look, not understanding what was going on, while Fenrik left the tent without looking back. One of the knights approached, supporting Jeffrey. The latter stood up, gave a short salute to Dietrich, who remained silent, and then followed Fenrik's steps outside. Where exactly does he want to take me? To the dragon's nest he first took me to? Or somewhere else, since the soldiers have gathered there and it is no longer possible to return to the Forbidden Forest? But when she opened her eyes, Presepe found herself in a place she knew well. The western side of the Forbidden Forest. Yes, it was that particular cave. It is said that the Demon King lived there for thousands of years. However, last time she found no trace of this. With a tired face and a miserable state, Presepe sat a little stunned, before a complicated feeling came over her. What happened with Duke Fenrik? Did a lot of people die? Most likely yes. And Vidar. In the deepest part of the cave. In a dark corner without light, Vidar was sitting with his back to her. He looked exhausted, as if he had just collapsed, but she did not notice those details. As soon as she laid eyes on him, a single thought came to her mind. Can I run away now? Especially when she remembers Vidar's actions a while ago. While she was lost in thought, she suddenly heard a strange sound coming to her ears. It was a moaning sound. Vidar? True, the Duke had just stabbed him with his sword. Not once, but twice. The first with his own sword. And the second? It was not just a decorative sword, but a weapon that could actually be fought with. It's my most valuable possession. If you sell it, it will only be a trivial amount of money, but if you fight with it instead of selling it, a lot will change. That sword you gave him during his training time. But something doesn't seem to make sense. Didn't Vidar say it himself? He couldn't die even if he wanted to. So how did the Duke's attack affect him? There, she found herself faced with a scene that had never happened to her.